Oh! Wait, yes! We're live! Hello! And welcome back to Please Don't Livestream. And welcome back to the continuation of our celebration of the greatest year of all time, 1989. That almost rhymed. Oh! It did. Sorry. Yes, hello, welcome back. I forgot how we do the intros. I'm not sure. Anyway, over there we have our co-host Christopher,
Hello, everyone.
and yes, we're gonna talk about a movie. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah, like we usually do. No commentary track, just a conversation. And last week we talked about the 1989 sci-fi underwater thriller Leviathan, which we both actually enjoyed quite a lot.
Yeah,
Which was a little new for this special series we're doing. We both actually really enjoyed the movie, which we haven't done before, except for Back to the Future, like we said. But that's a special one. But we were gonna follow it up then with the definitive underwater sci-fi thriller movie of 1989, which is of course James Cameron's epic The Abyss. And we're gonna talk about The Abyss like we usually do, but we're also gonna compare it a little bit to Leviathan, because there are certain similarities, and they kind of exist. Both came out in the same year because, well, for reasons that we're gonna discuss a little later. But let's start with talking a little bit about The Abyss, and we'll start with your opinion, because you had never seen it before.
no, exactly. I've heard of it. I knew some things. I knew it was underwater. I know it's James Cameron, and I knew it was long. So I haven't seen it before, but I've seen it now. And just because you didn't say that, since there are so many different versions of this movie,
All right.
we actually
Yes.
I saw the theatrical, and you saw the special edition cut.
I think special edition or director's cut, the very
Yeah.
long one.
Yeah. So we have some differences there.
Yeah.
I would say The Abyss it's a good movie.
Hmm.
But to compare it with Leviathan, it wasn't as tight and not as fun, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's
But it was still good, but it did feel like there was two different movies that they smushed together.
yes. I fully agree.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's interesting with the movie, because it is it's not like universally like loved, but it is like mentioned like among the sci-fi greats in certain circles. People say it's like a sci-fi classic, and I don't think it is. It's certainly, it wants to be like a sci-fi epic. It I think he wanted to make like a future classic because it has all those hallmarks. Like for the first, it's a what we call in Sweden mastodont film. I think that's a thing, like mastodon movie.
Yeah.
It's an epic.
Yeah.
Either version is way over 2 hours long, and it has a big like epic score with these like angel choirs and things, and the massive visuals of the spoilers, the aliens. Well, we're always gonna spoil stuff. Yeah, there's underwater aliens in this, and the whole. Well, yeah, we're gonna discuss that also. Maybe we'll do that later. The whole environmental message that was in at least my version of the movie.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't.
There wasn't that much in my movie regarding that.
Yeah.
My version of the movie. I don't think that. Yeah, it did. It's not something I got out of it. There was environmental
Okay.
aware.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's that's kind of interesting. Let's just get that out of the way. In the director's cut or the special edition, whichever I watched, when Ed Harris goes to talk to the aliens, the rubber aliens, they for some reason, decides then and there to kill humanity.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole movie we never heard of them. We only saw little glimpses of them. But the second they contact Ed Harris by rescuing him, they just decide to flood the Earth by creating these massive, like 1,000 feet tidal waves that is going to just drown every piece of land on Earth. But Ed Harris says, "Come on, give us another chance. I know we're kind of sucky, but we can do better." And then they just decide to not kill everyone.
Okay.
And they communicated with him by showing like news segments and old newsreel footage from like all the nuclear bomb tests and concentration camps and war in general, just to show that humanity bad. That's why we're gonna wipe you out. And all it took was one oil rig captain to say like, "Come on, give us another chance." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And it's so weird because it comes out of nowhere. For like 3 minutes, the world is on the brink of destruction, and then they just no, and then it disappears.
But do you get scenes where you see the waves?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay.
Terrible, like cut-in waves that just shake in the picture. It looks terrible special effects, which is kind of a thing in the whole movie. A lot of the special effects, because those are the like CGI stuff and you know, green screen stuff. I think a lot of that kind of looks bad in the movie.
Yeah, it aged poorly. Most of it, actually.
Yeah, like when he travels with the alien into the big alien mothership.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. For a movie that cost $80 million in 1989, it should look better.
Yeah, so in my version, in that scene, a lot better, I'd say. By your description, at least.
Okay.
I haven't seen the one you're talking about, but the way you describe it, my version is better.
Okay.
Because in my version, he gets into the tower or the place.
Yeah.
Where they separate the water and makes the room for him with air.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't think he says something like, "What are you doing here? What do you do?" Something like that. And then it's a hard cut back to the oil rig.
Okay.
And the things with the cables that's loose and and they need to get they talk with the ship and yeah, and that probably works because in my version they just said the storm just went away suddenly.
That's part of that.
Yeah, and then they just get the message from him that I made some friends, and then they rise up. So you just don't. They don't explain the aliens at all. They're just like, yeah, they're here.
Wow.
And something happened down there, but we don't know what happened between him and them. Sort of.
In a way, that sounds better because we get less of the stupid aliens because they look terrible. Yeah. But it also sounds very confusing that you almost get no explanation.
Yeah, I wouldn't say confusing because since I didn't even know that there was missing scenes there.
Okay, no, that's true.
From my point of view, there was more the mystery that something happened. They talked, but we don't see. We don't know why the aliens are here.
Okay.
It's a mystery. One of those. The J.J. Abrams, the box.
Okay.
So
okay.
More in that way, and the movie is almost over, so it's not like it feels like we're missing something because it's already been 2 hours. So
yeah. But I gotta ask, does the mothership surface?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's okay. Good.
So it surfaces and takes everything up, and he comes out, walking from. So it's more like he just got some friends. That's he said something that made them decide to help them.
Okay, well that
But
sounds.
from my point of view, it felt like they understood that he helped them with the nuclear
Oh, okay.
device, and then there's okay, so you guys are good. We're gonna help you now, and
Okay.
maybe the aliens are here, and okay, the humanity is good. We can surface and make ourselves known because this guy made a big sacrifice for us.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
the feeling I got.
That sounds better.
Eh,
It does. I gotta try and find that version and watch that. Yeah, because but I think that's the big difference though, the ending. Then there
yeah,
are we discussed that briefly before we started airing. Like there are minor differences, like slightly longer conversations and some underwater scenes with the commandos when they steal a nuke. But other than that, it's basically the same movie.
yeah.
And yeah, we didn't really talk about the plot much, but that the plot, there isn't a lot of plot. It's this
I mean,
it's an underwater oil rig that gets kind of commandeered by these marines that have to retrieve like nuclear warheads from a downed submarine. And while this is going on, because that's a plot for a regular movie, a 90-minute movie. While that is going on, you also have this alien plot that just pops up
yeah.
from time to time. And I they don't really gel. It feels like two movies spliced together.
Yeah, I mean, it was really jarring. I'd say every time we cut from one plot from to the other plot,
Yeah,
because I feel this movie would have been great. It would have been. It's not. It wouldn't have been as much of a sci-fi, but it would still be great if you just remove all the aliens and just the commandos are here to get the nukes, just as in the movie,
no,
and then something happens, and they decide we need to blow the nukes up.
yeah,
And instead of having the conflict that, oh no, they're going to destroy the aliens, just have the conflict that the commandos are saying, no, we have to, we all need to die because this is national security. We don't have time to escape, but we need to blow this up. And the oil guys say, no, fuck that. And that could have been the
yeah,
conflict.
yeah. That it's more about, because it's the movie starts with the quote from Nietzsche that the longer, what is it, when you stare into the abyss you stare into yourself, or whatever it is. So the movie should really be about like discovering the darkness within humanity.
Yeah,
But it
that quote was not in my version.
it wasn't. Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, wait, I got to find it then. It's the abyss.
Yeah, but I know the quote.
Yeah,
it's a known quote.
I just gotta see what here it is. Nietzsche. Oh,
If you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back at you.
exactly. That's
Something
the one.
like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Which would make sense then. That the commandos goes insane from the sickness they talk about, which they hint at, and he does go crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be the entire plot, and the movie could have been like an hour and 40, maybe 2 hours instead of 2.5 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest problem with the movie, I think, and that's what keeps it from being interesting. Because everything else, except for some of the special effects, is great. Like all the set design. Well, the dialogue isn't that good, but that's a typical James Cameron thing. He's terrible at dialogue. He's good with plot or like coming up with cool ideas, but his dialogue is terrible. But yeah, all the scenes that were shot with like real submarines, and they actually went down, not like super deep, but they were down deep in like actual oceans, and then filmed in giant water tanks and all that. There's a lot of attention to detail, like there usually is in his movies, and all that is great, but the actual movie isn't that interesting.
Yeah.
Or it is interesting, but it's too long. It's too much.
It feels like he had this military plot, and then somewhere around when he did the first rewrite,
Yeah.
he watched Close Encounters and said, "Oh, I need to have that too."
Yeah.
I mean, it's, yeah, because it all seems so tacked on.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like a
that's the
second
thing.
thought.
If I looked up some trivia stuff, and the original idea, much like Avatar, he actually came up with like in the mid 70s when he was in high school or even early
Yeah.
70s. Um, and that the entire idea for this movie, this 3-hour movie, comes from him finding out that you can actually breathe this oxygenized liquid, which they use in the
Mm.
movie. He read about that in some textbook, and he was like, "Hey, I could make a movie out of that idea." That's where it stems from.
Yeah, we did well, a Google, not research, a
Yeah, yeah,
Google,
yeah.
uh, on that liquid,
Yeah,
that actual real liquid.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it is in this movie.
Oh, but I know the rat actually breathed the liquid in the movie. That was a real rat breathing liquid,
Yeah,
and
but
they did it with
it's
like 5 rats, and everyone
yeah,
except for one, I think,
because
survived.
the issue is that well, humans, I don't know about rats, but humans at least, we can't really we can't really get the we don't have the muscles to get the liquid
Yeah,
up and to breathe it.
yeah.
So you need to have like a tube down to the lungs who extracts it and inserts the.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, well that's the phi in sci-fi.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a
Um,
cool concept, which makes sense because they mention that in the movie. You breathe liquid for 9 months in the womb,
mm,
so it makes sense. It just doesn't actually work like that. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, that's sci-fi.
yeah. Uh, one thing I got the feeling of, and that's the when he has the liquid and he goes down in the abyss
Yeah,
to get the nuke. That scene or part, it feels like that was the everything was written around that specific thing.
yeah,
That one person is going down into the darkness
yeah,
with this liquid. It feels like that's sort of the point of the movie. Everything around it is just to make that setup happen.
yeah, yeah. It probably is.
Yeah.
And the whole he's on a figurative and literal journey into the abyss
Mm.
because he has to keep his sanity, but he also has to get to the actual bottom to find the nuke. So, okay.
And that was something that I didn't really got like how he went insane so extremely fast.
Wait, who? Ed Harris?
Yeah,
But he was
when he
fine.
was when he was starting to lose himself and starting to
All
write
right.
weirdly, and it was like you you've been in like the same as a sensory deprivation tank for 15 minutes. Come
Yeah.
on now.
Well,
I mean,
that scene is kind of poorly edited because I don't know if they
no.
mention it in your version, but that trip down to the nuke actually took 3 hours.
Oh, I think in my version, I think they say 30 minutes.
Okay.
Wait, or did I mishear that? Maybe
Or yeah, maybe I'm just misremembering.
because
Maybe
when he got
you could be
down,
right.
because
Okay.
when he got down there, and he says, "I have air for 5 more minutes," and they're like, "They took half an hour to get
Yeah,
down there."
you're right. I'm sorry. I misremembered. Yeah, it's 30
No,
minutes. Okay, sure,
no.
fine. Yes. Sorry.
And still, I mean, and it's the same as a sensory deprivation tank. And yeah, I can get it that it's harrowing, but
Yeah.
you won't get like problem spelling and problem thinking straight in 30 minutes. I
No.
mean, people lie in sensory deprivation tanks for like hours on hours and hours,
Yeah. If it
and
had
are
been if he had been down there for like 3 hours or a day or something, you could see
yeah,
him starting to go insane.
yeah, then it would be totally believable. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of
Yeah. There's a lot of ideas,
mm,
but they don't. Yeah, like we said, they don't really work together. A lot of them. And then I don't know if you remember. I wanted you. We talked about that when we talked about Leviathan. Thinking about how all the characters interacted and their dialogue back and forth with each other. Because I know we both or I know at least me or I thought that the dialogue in Leviathan was pretty natural, and everyone
Hmm?
seemed to like know each other as persons, not just as actors.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. And what did you think of the character interactions in the Abyss?
It was spotty. There was some that were really good and some that wasn't. And I mean, at the end of the movie, I there was no there was several times that I mixed up who was who in the movie
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because they look quite the same, and you don't get a personality from most. You get a personality from like um the woman who drives the with the cowboy hat, because she has a
yeah.
cowboy hat, so that's her
That's
personality.
her thing. Yeah, one
Yeah,
night. Yeah.
yeah. And then there was this the right hand man. I don't know what his name was.
Oh, the bigger guy with the hat and the beard.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy.
Cat. I think they call him.
Cat. Yeah.
Or, yeah,
I
Cat.
mean, those two, and obviously Bud and his wife,
Yeah,
and the top military guy.
yeah,
Those were the only like 5 people who had personality out of what maybe 12 people.
yeah. Like yeah, in the beginning there's so many characters which
Yeah.
they get rid of after like the first hour and 10 minutes maybe. But still, there's so many characters. Um,
And that guy, the big guy,
yeah, who first sees the alien in the submarine.
Rambler,
Scrambler, something. Yeah, something like
something.
that.
Yeah. He's like out for like he's in the movie for like the first, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, and then he's
Yeah.
out for 1.5 hours, and he's back.
Yeah, and it's like,
Like,
hey guys.
okay. I was like, okay, should I know this person by
Yeah,
now?
it was weird. But then there's the guy with the rat, hippie,
Oh yeah.
which is
Yeah.
it's this movie's six pack. He's not a sleazy scumbag, but he's annoying, but in a different way, because he's a weirdo
Conspiracy nut.
conspiracy nut. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has one of the worst lines in the movie when they're walking somewhere. There's so much walking in the movie. And Ed Harris, Bud, says like, "Oh, you think?"
No, that's the it's the wife who says that. You think everything is a conspiracy,
Yeah, and he says,
but
"But
everything
everything
is.
is." I was like,
I like that line.
Yeah,
it,
but it's
it was
so-
it was like the first line in the movie where like, oh, I know this character's personality now.
That's true. That's true.
Now
but
I
it
get
was,
it.
It was so cringy. Everything
Yeah,
is. And yeah, and then you have the jarhead, the Marines, the Commandos, and I'm like,
And I mean,
Michael Bean's good, but he's been better, I think.
yeah, but I guess that was the point, that those people were supposed to be like nameless military guys who no personality, just orders. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end when one of the Marines switched sides,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even realize that was a Marine that switched sides.
Okay.
A while later, I was like, wait,
Who is?
oh,
That's okay. Yeah.
right. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the movie 3 times now.
Since
yeah,
last Monday.
No. I watched it once, but I've seen it before.
Okay.
And yeah, the first time it helps to have seen it several times, because you kind of start to recognize some of the characters. But the first time, yeah, you don't know who anyone is basically.
No.
And that's also a big problem with the movie. And I think, like I said, James Cameron's dialogue, it's not natural sometimes, but for the most part, it feels very movie-ish. They don't feel like real characters, which is kind of interesting it's annoying, because the rest of the movie, the rest of his directing, is all focused on trying to create as realistic a movie as possible. Like with all the sets, like everything is like, compare the sets in the Abyss with Leviathan. Everything is cramped, it's damp, it looks like an oil refinery, but it's underwater. And you compare that to the Leviathan stuff, where it's all just nice stainless steel and everyone can walk upright and.
I mean, it feels like, and I guess that's probably true. Most of Cameron's movies, that he would if he could choose, he would choose to not have any actors in it, to just show cool stuff. He
Yeah.
just want to show cool stuff, and this movie, it's a technical marvel.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, except CGI, but
Yeah.
all the underwater stuff and the sets and everything is great.
Yeah.
It's just the characters and that there are two stories,
Yeah.
two main plots. That's the biggest problem,
Yeah.
and that's why I would say that, based on what I've seen, the best underwater movie of '89 was Leviathan.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so it. It's so weird to say that because, like I said before, this should have been an amazing, like a 10 out of 10 movie. Because one of my all-time favorite movies, it's probably in my top 5, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Spielberg movie, and this feels like it kind of wants to be the same thing but underwater. Both with the music and the weirdo aliens and all the and ooh at the end.
Regarding the music, the music was weird.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
sometimes it felt like they taken music from a Disney movie. It was every time the small alien thing was on screen, it was like, what's happening?
Yeah, because it's supposed to be cute, like diddly-diddly-doo-doo.
Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
at all
I know.
anything.
I know.
I
It's
mean,
weird.
the point where she touches the ship when she sees the pig ship for the first time,
Yeah,
and they're out doing something quite serious. I don't remember what, but it's something.
yeah. She has to get like backup oxygen, so they have more than like 3 hours of oxygen left.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I gotta get oxygen so these people won't die.
yeah. And like, what's this? Yeah.
What?
And that's the thing. The stories clash because she had something very important to do, but let's pause that and have some cool, serene alien shots. It's like, that's cool, but what about the oxygen?
Yeah, it feels like it, and also if they only had the alien plot, that would also work.
I think that would work. Yeah, that they're down there, but the aliens are introduced much earlier, and they're actually in the movie more than 3 times before we get to the end. Because there's the one where she touches the ship. There's the one with the water tentacle thing, and then you see
at the beginning with the sub.
Oh yeah, the sub, and then there's I think one more scene when she sees something fly past. I think, but that's it. And then we don't. Then that's like maybe 20 minutes out of a 2-hour and 30-minute movie. Or 220, 240, whatever. Yeah. And then at the end, it's like, oh my god, there's an entire civilization of aliens down here. Oh, maybe you should have hinted at that a little more. Because it comes out of the blue.
Which movie would you rather prefer? The Marine movie or the Alien movie?
I think the Alien movie. Like I said, because I really, really like Close Encounters. So I would like something more like that.
Mm. Yeah, when we talk about, I would say the military movie.
Okay.
Because I thought the alien part was done. I've seen this before in Close Encounter.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if Leviathan tried to be the thing underwater, this tried to be Close Encounter underwater.
Yes, I agree. Definitely. And to get back to that, I also agree. Leviathan is a better movie. Like, it looks cheaper. It is cheaper. It doesn't have as many complicated shots. There's more like fake underwater footage, but as a story, as a movie, it works better.
Yeah, and it's so. I got a bigger appreciation of that movie after I saw this movie.
Yeah,
because Leviathan is so tight. As I think that's the best part. There's not a wasted minute in that movie. In this movie, there's like maybe 30 wasted minutes.
Yeah, that's the weird thing with it, because it doesn't feel its length. Like, I sat and watched it in like one sitting last night. Yeah, no, the night before. Whatever. And after it was done, I was like, it didn't feel like I'd been sitting there and watching a movie for 2 hours and 40 minutes. But at the same time, I couldn't remember like long stretches of the movie because there's nothing that is actually interesting in those. It's just walking around, talking about their relationship or talking about the ship and it's leaking. Like, you remember all the big cool scenes with the aliens or when they fight in the moon pool area. You remember all that, but there's like an entire hour of the movie that it's just like transitional stuff or like exposition dialogue. And you're just waiting for the next cool scene.
Yeah, and that's also a weird thing that a lot of the exposition isn't needed. It's just, I mean, they're talking about like, yeah, this thing is this is a problem that we're gonna have to worry about later, and then the problem happens. And why did we need the exposition?
I don't know, because he wanted to add that sense of realism. Like, he has to explain that this is actually what's going on right now. Because
yeah, but then a few scenes later, we see that going on. We don't need someone to tell us before it happens. Just cut out all this exposition. Just show us when that happens instead.
You know what? That's James Cameron for you.
Yeah.
I mean, the Titanic is the same way. There's so much stuff. The movie's over 3 hours long, and there's like an hour of really good stuff, and the rest is just like boring.
Well, I disagreed on that though.
Okay.
Because in that movie, because that movie also has like 2 plots.
Yeah, that's
actually.
True. Yeah.
So, but it's a better transition between the plots. That the first part of the movie is this, and the second part of the movie is this.
Yes.
And they are connected, and we see how they are connected. So we see this relationship that builds up why the tragedy or the disaster is such a tragedy, because we saw everything before, and I think that works a lot better.
Oh, definitely.
And in this movie, it feels tacked on that we have this story and another story that doesn't connect at all.
Yeah.
So
and I agree. Like, out of the two, Titanic is a better movie, I think.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but like, I remember it fondly. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's like, yeah, okay, let's just get on with it. Because once again, the dialogue isn't the best in that movie, and the characters are kind of stupid for a lot of the movie. But speaking of James Cameron as a director, this movie was like a disaster to make. I don't know how much you read about that.
Not at all.
Okay.
I've heard bits and pieces way before this.
Yeah.
When I hadn't seen the movie, so I couldn't connect it to the movie, but I heard a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, the first thing that's not like, oh, a disaster, but like every actor who's in the movie, that is on that underwater base, which is practically everyone,
except the boats.
Yeah, the up top people. Yeah, they all had to become certified divers, otherwise they couldn't shoot the movie, because they were literally like filming it underwater for long stretches of time. I think I read somewhere like 70% of the underwater stuff is actually filmed underwater. Like, there's very little trick photography. Probably most of that is the end with the alien stuff. That's not actually underwater. But the rest is. I read somewhere. Speaking of the rats actually breeding that liquid, the American Humane Association, they rated the movie unacceptable, because that scene where you actually watch the rat, it doesn't die, but it stops breathing and then starts breathing again. That's animal abuse, according to them. So it is a little creepy. Yeah, and it is. It's an effective scene. It's really creepy. It basically dies on camera and then comes back. But then, I said 80 million. It actually only cost 70 million. So.
Oh, okay. It's fine then.
But I read somewhere, where was that? There was somewhere. Well, yeah, that Ed Harris, like, he doesn't talk about the movie. Like, a lot of the actors, like, they all like ganged up and like almost like walked out because it was a very demanding shoot because it was all filmed in like cold water for so many hours, and James Cameron goes a little nuts. I don't know if you've seen like behind the scenes stuff. He's not a very nice person when it comes to actual like work stuff. So he was very hard to work with. And one day, when I read somewhere that one day when Ed Harris was going home from the shoot, he was on the highway, the freeway, the interstate, and he just had to stop because of the stuff they had filmed that day. Probably some scene where he's almost drowning. He just had a panic attack and started crying and had to like drive off the road and like stop for several minutes because he was it caught up with him hours later. There was a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, James Cameron, he makes good movies sometimes, but he's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, the production was plagued by adversities and setbacks. There were engineering delays that slowed down production on the water tank, and when it was finally filmed, thunderstorms and pipe ruptures complicated things. Local goats sometimes invaded the set. Okay. Destroying equipment and urinating over the floors. Okay. And here it comes. Delays caused shooting days to last an average of 15 to 18 hours. That's every day, somewhere between 15 and 18 hours on set, which caused exhaustion and agitation among cast and crew, who had a tough time dealing with James Cameron's relentless pace and dictatorial behavior. The constant cold and submersion caused many to come down with ear and sinus infections. There were many near-drowning accidents on sets, and finally, filming was delayed one day due to a bomb threat.
From Ed Harris.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I read or I heard that a few days ago on something else, but that it's an industry standard or it's a rule, unwritten rule, that you will never have a shooting day above 12 hours.
Yeah.
Because everything, as they said in that one, because there was someone who was in the industry who said that everything after 12 hours is going to be turn out shit and unusable.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so tired and everyone can't give it all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what little experience we have, we know that, you know, after a certain amount of hours, people don't want to do their best anymore.
No.
It makes sense. But he doesn't care. He wants to show this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here, Ed Harris reportedly punched James Cameron in the face after he kept filming while he was nearly drowning.
Oh, fuck's sake.
He's not dead yet! Keep filming!
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't say this movie is worth all that.
No, that's the thing. Like, yeah.
If it would have come out as a masterpiece, then you'd understand it, but
yeah, because then it was they suffered for true art, but now they just suffered for an okay movie.
Yeah.
Some more stuff. It's just so much fun to read this. Where was it? The water in the two tanks that they filmed most of the stuff in was chlorinated heavily to prevent microbes growing in it. That makes sense. But this caused skin burns, as well as many of the actors' hair become green and even white. Oh my god. And here, Ed Harris has publicly refused to speak about his experience working on the film, saying, "I'm not talking about The Abyss, and I never will." The only register with Harris speaking about his experience doing the movie is in a documentary Under Pressure, Making the Abyss. I haven't seen that one. I want to see that. And Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who plays his wife, something, I don't remember her name, said, "The Abyss was a lot of things. Fun to make was not one of them." Yeah, and like we said, great movies come from, like, great struggle. But in this case, an okay movie came from great struggle. Yeah. So, it wasn't worth it.
Just want to pick up something you said before. You said that you don't remember big parts of the movie. You only remember the cool parts.
Yeah. Well, for the most part.
Yeah. That has to be I mean, that's probably why it's on the sci-fi great lists. Because
Yeah,
people don't want to rewatch it because it's too long, and they only remember the good parts. So
that's
they
true.
say, "Oh yeah, it's a great movie."
That
But
makes sense. Yeah.
if you took one of those people who put this one on their sci-fi greats and you say, "Sit down and rewatch it," would you
Yeah.
still put it on the list? I don't think. I don't think a lot of people would.
Why do you think this is so great?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Eh. So
Oh, oh, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, well, let's no, we already discussed. Yes, let's quickly discuss because I actually I prepared some stills here, because yeah, we decided to talk about these two movies, because they were like two kind of similar movies that came out in the same year, and that's always fun to discuss. I think we can agree that they aren't that similar, except for the fact that they take place underwater. There's some kind of alien thing, but the rest is kind of different, and one is clearly better than the other.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting because I found out, like, gradually found out that there were not just two movies that took place underwater in 1989. So the first one we talked about was Leviathan, and then we talked about The Abyss. But then while I was researching Leviathan, I found that there was a movie called Deep Star 6, which was even more poorly received because The Abyss was like, it got like a 60 on Metacritic, so it's pretty good. Leviathan has like a 54 or something. Deep Star 6 drops down into the 30s, I think. But while I was watching Deep Star 6, I found out that there was another movie that came out in 1989, produced by Roger Corman, called Lords of the Deep. That one has like a 17 or something on Metacritic. Let's see here. Just a double check. Oh, it doesn't even have a Metascore. Sorry. And it wasn't part of our like discussion, but I wanted to watch Deep Star 6, and I wanted to try and watch Lords of the Deep, so I was watching it just before we started filming. It's pretty terrible, so we're not going to discuss that one. But while watching Lords of the Deep, I found out that there was yet another one that was called The Evil Below. That one isn't a sci-fi movie, though. It's a paranormal movie. But still, in 1989, there were 5 underwater, like, deep water sci-fi base movies. 5 of them. We discussed this briefly in the last episode, that maybe it was just a coincidence that Leviathan and The Abyss came out in the same year. Maybe someone somewhere maybe heard something, so they decided to film their own underwater movie. But it was mostly, I think we agree it was a coincidence. But speaking of, when I was looking up stuff about Deep Star 6, some stuff surfaced. So, first of all, the writer for Deep Star 6, Louis Abernathy, sold his script at the same time that his friend James Cameron was working on his own underwater monster saga. Despite Cameron asking that he delay the movie to avoid competing with The Abyss, Abernathy went ahead and was thereby deemed persona non grata with Cameron and associates until they patched together a friendship when Abernathy accompanied Cameron on the September 95 filming of the wreck of the Titanic for Titanic, because they actually filmed stuff down there for real. And somewhere else, let's see, it was, Deep Star 6 was actually the first release of several underwater themed features released in 89. It came out in January, while I think Leviathan came out in March or May, and Abyss was in August. I don't know about Lords of the Deep and Evil Below. And this is the worst part. And this is why I don't like. We talked a little bit about this when we talked about when we did the commentary for Friday the 13th. That Sean Cunningham, he's not an artist. He's in the movie making business to make money, only to make money. Because he was the producer of Deep Star 6. And he developed the idea in 1987 with the express purpose of being the first to release, be the first release on the slate of upcoming underwater action sci-fi films. He knew about at least Leviathan and the Abyss, and he just rushed the production to be the first to release an underwater sci-fi movie. And this is not confirmed, but the original director, Robert Harmon, actually left the production. And I'm guessing it was because they were rushing him a lot. So Sean Cunningham just stepped in and took over and directed the rest of the movie. He's a fucking rat. I don't like Sean Cunningham. I used to like him because he made fun slasher movies. But I don't like him anymore when you look into what he does. So Deep Star 6 was just a filthy cash grab. And the worst part is it's not good. It has a fun premise. It's more like a Leviathan than the Abyss. So it's more of a like creature feature. And it could have been a pretty good movie with some good actors in it, but it's just so boring and so rushed. It feels rushed. So yeah, you didn't miss much. I'll just say that. And then really, Lords of the Deep, boring. It's a boring like.
What is it about?
Lords of the Deep is about. It takes place in the future, and the new thing is to try and build like habitats underwater where people can actually live for like not for just periods of time but indefinitely. But they unearth something.
They find something.
They find something that lives deep in the deep. And there's these stupid like manta ray looking monsters with big goofy eyes. It looks terrible. Like I said, it's a Roger Corman movie, so it's a very short, a very small budget. It's very short. It's an hour and 17. And that's including credits. I don't want to say terrible movie, but it's boring and it looks terrible.
Do you remember the budget of Leviathan, by the way?
Leviathan was like 10 or 20.
Oh, no, 25.
25. Yeah.
So, for almost 50 million less than The Abyss. And you got a better movie, and nobody hated.
Yeah.
Nobody hates.
Nobody hates, what's his name? Cosmatos.
George P. Cosmatos.
George Cosmatos, yeah. No, it was probably like a fine time making that movie.
Yeah.
But that kind of adds to the whole, movies that have like inflated budgets. They just throw money at every problem and try to like fix it in the dumbest way possible instead of actually trying to do a creative solution to a problem. You just more money. Leviathan, they had to cut corners, obviously, and in places, but they do it in a way that enhances the movie. And The Abyss, they have all these big scenes with the spaceship and all the real scenes with the submarines and all that, and it just feels like filler. Like we said, there's so much filler in that movie.
The Abyss. Again, we're back at the. I do not like the movies we watch.
Yeah, but this time I'm kind of happy that we agree on that. That The Abyss, it's fine, but it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad.
No, it's not a bad movie.
No, I mean it's. But I couldn't recommend it to people because it's too long.
Yes.
And
you even watched the short version.
Yeah. Only 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So yeah.
Yeah, and then it's weird. I don't know.
Watch Leviathan twice instead, I'd say.
Yeah, watch that back to back.
Yeah.
Because Leviathan it's a fun movie, and I'm glad we agree on that. Because I was a little worried, because at first I thought. I think I said that last time, that the first time I watched Leviathan, I didn't finish it because I was like, it's kind of boring. It looks cheap. It's boring. The Abyss is better. But then when I actually sat down and actually watched Leviathan, it's like, it looks a little cheap, but this is actually interesting. While The Abyss
Yeah.
is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, even though yeah, I guess The Abyss was a little disappointing. It was good to make the comparison and figure out that there is actually a really good underwater sci-fi thriller from 1989. and then one that's
And that
pretty
is
good.
Lords
and
of the Water.
yes, Lords of the Deep. Yes, everyone should watch Lords of the Deep, please. No. But that's I don't know. Is there anything else we want to say about either of the movies?
I don't know. I would give this movie a 5, by the way,
Okay.
out of 10.
Yeah, I would probably. Yeah.
And I do not
Maybe
remember what I.
6.
I don't remember what I gave Leviathan, but I would now give it a 7.
Okay, I think you said a 7 and 8, and I said something
Yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I stand by 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the big takeaway from this 2-week journey. Like watch Leviathan. It's a good little movie. And if you want to watch The Abyss, go ahead, but don't bother with the director's cut. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, don't watch the other ones. Deep Star 6, if you're into like bad, so bad they're good, it kind of works that way, but it's not bad enough for that. And Lords of the Deep is just boring. And like I said, I didn't even watch Evil Below because it's not a sci-fi movie. It's a paranormal movie. Anyway, that's I think that's that. So for next week, we're gonna do we're gonna be officially out of October. So even though The Abyss, it feels like it should be more of a horror movie, but it isn't really.
No.
But it kind of fit because we were talking about Leviathan, which is more of a horror movie. But yeah, we're gonna talk about we're gonna ease into the rest of the year, which is gonna be more action adventure related. So we're gonna do a discussion about Ghostbusters 2, and yeah, we've probably discussed it like briefly before, but I'm not sure what you think of the Ghostbusters movies. Don't say anything. We'll save that for them, because I know like the first Ghostbusters is like revered as an immortal classic or something, and yeah. Well, everyone knows what I think of it because I made a video about it. So, but we're gonna get into that when we talk about Ghostbusters 2.
And we maybe get another member, a guest.
Oh yes,
Maybe.
yes. It's pretty. It's 90% sure.
Yeah.
It's not finalized, but we're gonna have a guest he's been on before, but maybe like 2 years ago or something. So, but that'll be fun because I know what he thinks of Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. So that could be a nice contrast. But that's next week. So thank you to everyone. There was someone watching live, I think. But thank you for everyone watching later in the archives. And be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't like it. But if you did like it and you want to see more live streams, movie reviews, whatever, and you want to see next week's live stream, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell thing so you're always updated when we do our live streams and things. But until then, have a good one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.